Okay, I'm gonna do a series of just little brief videos showing you some of the features of our new bundle product. This is our bundle for January. It is a set of cardinals and branches that you can mix and match. There's a die set, a stamp set, and a stencil. And they can be used individually. You can use the stencil individually, stamps individually, or stencil and die cut, stamp and die cut. Use all three of them. Stencil the color into the stamped images. The stencil set also comes, if you can see that a little bit, comes with the cutouts of the trees too, so you can use that in a negative way. I'll show you a video of that later on this week. But I'm going to start today by just showing you an example of the stencil set used by itself to make the cardinals. So let's get going with that and some of the cool reasons you might want to do that. I'm going to, like I said, start with the stencil. I'm going to make this, basically this card right here. I'm going to start with stenciling the bird, the top bird. All right, and then we'll go back in and mask him and add the branches afterwards. I do use a little bit of spray stencil adhesive on the back just to keep my stencil nice and in place. You can obviously use whatever blending brushes you want to use. These are small little stencils, so I try to kind of use, these are just cheap. It's just a set of cheap makeup brushes from like Target. Just because this is a pretty small space, so, and these are inexpensive and pretty disposable, so I'm just going to use that to color in my cardinal. I turned over, damaged it a little bit. All right, I'm using our ink. This is our cherry ink pad. It is a hybrid ink, so it's sort of a cross between pigment and dye. Dries pretty quickly, but also has a fair amount of opacity to it, so it layers pretty nicely. I've got some new stencil brushes coming in that are somewhat smaller than the ones I have right now. Are fairly big, and I find them to be challenging on these little teeny spots, so stay tuned on what I choose to use there. But for this right now, I'm just going to do this with the makeup brush because it's quick and easy. All right, so that is me stenciling my cardinal, the main body of it, and then there are spots for the, just to give a little bit more dimension to it, we're going to do the tail in a slightly darker red, which is our cranberry. So I'm going to do that. Just change brushes. Just to add a little depth to the bird. Super quick and easy, really. All right, so that's a little bit of color on the tail. Goodness gracious. All right. And I'm going to do that same thing with this wing. It's not a particularly challenging thing to line up these birds. Later on in the week, I'll do something with the leaves. The leaves are a little bit trickier, but the birds are pretty easy to line up. All right, so that's the wing of the bird. So our bird's looking pretty good so far. I am gonna now do, there's a little teeny, where his little black eye mask is. Put that down, get the black. I'm gonna put that thing, all right. All right, so that's his little cardinal mask. And then the feet I'm also going to do in black. All right, and I've just got the beak left. Which I'm just going to do with a goldenrod. Okay, now the main part of the bird is done. Okay, so there is, if you look at the stencil, there is a small little eyeball hole. Now, I find it somewhat easier just to put the eyeball in with a white pen. So I'm just going to put a white dot for the eye and let it dry for a second, and then I'm going to add just a dot for the iris of the eye, or the pupil of the eye. You'll see what that looks like just with the white. And then I'm gonna, and you can kind of do this pretty easily freehand. Just a little dot in the middle. It does not have to be particularly perfect. It comes out looking pretty good either way. So there you have it. There's my bird. Now that bird is complete. Looks pretty good. You'll notice that on this card, I have another bird facing the other way. My stencil and my stamp set only have birds, this bird pointing this way. There's another bird in a different position, but this bird only points this way. So with a stamp, it's really hard to flip him over and have him face the other direction. With a stencil, however, what you can do is just flip the stencil over. All right, and you'll want to, I just switch. I have two stencils I'm using here, so just a disclaimer. If you're doing this at home, make sure you clean. If you stenciled all over this side of it, clean that first so that doesn't get on your paper when you flip it over. But if you clean that pretty well, you can flip it over and stencil the bird pointing the other direction. So that's one bonus of using the stencil. So I'm just going to do the same thing, just in the other direction. These are not the toughest. Let's see. Okay. Get this layer of color down first. Nice and smooth. Did a very good job there. Okay. Now I'm going to put this in. I'm going to do the big one now with the darker red. If you have better brushes, like this is not the most ideal brush situation I've got going here. I'm waiting for my other ones to come in. You can do a better blending job than I'm doing here. You could make it like that. You can And, you know, if you look at it, and like I did a nice blend there, but I actually want to have a little bit more delineation between the wing and the rest of the body, so I can put it back and add some more. The good thing about stencils, you can kind of remove it, take a look, and go back, add more. All right, so there you go. Better, so now you can see the wing a lot better. And I'm just going to do that same little bit of color on the tail. Beautiful. Okay. And I will go back to the black, do his little mask, make him very cardinally. And his feet. All right. The last thing I need to do is just do his beak. All right, same thing with the eye here. I'm just going to add the eye manually. A white pen. Okay. Just a little bit of black. A little bit of a pupil there. Now, nice thing about the stencil and the die set is you could cut these birds out and give them some dimension with some foam tape if you wanted to. This card I did do flat, so we're just going to keep going in that direction. Okay, I'm going to show you what I do here. The birds, when you stencil them, they're not going to be opaque enough to be able to stamp the branches over top of them without the branch kind of cutting through the tree there, and you'll see that. And so what I'm going to do is mask that. I use, for this anyway, I use, because they're small, Post-it tape, which is just repositionable tape. This is the same adhesive that they use for Post-it notes, so it comes on and off really easily. But I stamped my birds on it and then just fussy cut them sort of exactly on the lines. And I keep them stuck to my stamp set so I don't lose them. But I'm going to put that over top of the bird now, and I don't have the reverse of the bird. I could figure that out and do it, but the bird's tails are the exact same, so I'm just going to use the bird facing the wrong direction to mask off the tail of the bottom one too. So they're both masked, and I can stamp on top of that now and not have that show through. I have played with about 700 different gray ink pads. I just wanted these to be gray. My ink. So, and I'll show you some more tricky things about these branches, but there are 3 different branches on the set. In this case, I'm just going to use them exactly the way they are. The nice thing, though, about the clear stamp with skinny kind of things like this is that you could bend them however you want to. So maybe you want the branch to come in a different angle from the side. You could do that. If you wanted to curve it up like that, you could do that. I'm going to keep it fairly much like it actually naturally is on the set. This is the top branch right here. So I'm going to stamp this branch. And I'm going to arrange it so that I can have his feet. I want his feet to be on the branch. So I'm going to try to stamp it where the thick part of that branch just kind of goes right over his feet. Because they're black, so it doesn't really matter. There you go. Exact same thing on the other side. And I'm just going to add the third one. Just to fill the space up a little bit. Oops. I might have done that better. There we go. Okay. Now I can peel off my masking, and you can see that the bird's tail was masked so that the branch does appear to be sort of behind the bird's tail. So that's how I basically made this card. I'm not going to extend this video by layering it and putting the sentiment on it, but just finished the card. This is a quick and easy, really card. Once you get used to the kind of way it gets stenciled. So there you go. But the trick there is cool that you can reverse things, and that's the same thing with any of the pieces of the stencil. True of the branches too. If you want this branch to come in the other side, you can just flip it over.